Good evening, everybody. It's about 8:50 p.m. here in the East Coast in Lancaster County for you non-Lancaster Countyans. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit today. I wanted to touch on an issue that seems to be a big deal, especially today. I've seen it all over social media sites, and it seems like everybody's in an uproar on both sides of this issue. And the issue is the fast food workers going on strike because they demand minimum wage be raised to $15 an hour. And I wanted to talk about that for a little bit here this evening. Um, I'm 33 years old, so I mean I'm not old, but I'm not like you know I'm not in my late teens or anything. Now I want to start out by saying that I respect anybody who's working minimum wage, especially fast food and retail, because I've worked both, and I gotta tell you that they're not easy jobs at all. It's nowhere near um, easy, especially when you have irate customers who are being unreasonable, and you have to sit there and take it and pretend that they're right because that's your job. You still have to smile, you still have to be polite, you still have to try to resolve the issue in a way that the customer returns to your establishment. Now, um, here's why I don't think raising minimum wage to $15 an hour or even $10 an hour is a good idea. Um, Number one, when I first started working, I was working at the Lancaster Employment and Training Agency, and we were going around to different state and county parks, and we were cleaning up trails, and we were cleaning up parking and picnic areas. And this was in the summertime, so it was pretty hot out. The elements had a big part in what we did. It was hot. It was stinking hot. So it was humid, and you had mosquitoes and bugs and all kinds of stuff were all over you all the time. Bees. You had to watch out for hornets' nests and all that kind of stuff. But it was a job. I mean, it was 1995. I was like almost 16 years old. So it gave me some valuable experience and something to put on my resume um, when I started really entering the workforce in a serious manner. And it actually kind of helped me out when I got my first actual full-time job. It wasn't like full-time, but you know what I mean. It wasn't just a summer job. I worked at Pizza Hut from the time I was 16 to the time I was about 18 years old. And my experience I gained from that first job over the summer really helped me out there. Um, and it was something positive to put on my resume. Um, Now, the minimum wage at that time was, I believe, it was either 4.25 or 4.75. I don't remember exactly, but I know that when I worked at Pizza Hut, I was working minimum wage, and minimum wage went up to, I believe, 5.15 at one point, and I thought I was something else, and I thought I was pretty big. But then again, gas was only about $1 a gallon. The highest I paid for gas was like $1.05, $1.08, something like that. I had a big station wagon, an old Valari station wagon, and it had a V6, a slant six engine in it, and I could fill my tank up from almost empty to full for about 15 bucks, 13 to $15 on average. So gas prices are a lot different then, but of course, so are the wages. Now, I think what the problem we have now is um, not necessarily that minimum wage is what it is, but in a lot of ways, prices are going up, but the wages are staying the same. Now I know that I've worked jobs for like 10, 11 bucks an hour in the past, and now I see those same companies hiring for the same positions in 2012, 2013, and they're advertising 8.50 an hour to start. I don't know how they can get away with that. I don't know how they sleep at night. Um, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, what do they do with the people that were working? Do they demote their wages or what? How they do that? But here's what happens if you have a minimum wage raised to $15 an hour. I worked for a welding outfit in Gilbertsville, PA, a couple years ago, and I had come in very green. Um, rarely, I maybe touched a welder once in my lifetime, but I knew somebody who worked there as a supervisor, so that kind of helped. I still had to sell myself. I still had to go in for the interview, and I still had to have a good interview and pass the screening and the drug screening and all that jazz. Um, so it's not like the job was just handed to me. And I still had to perform once I got the job, because I was on a probationary extra special probationary um, situation for quite a bit, but started at 13.50 an hour, and most of the other welders had started at quite a bit more than that. But I understood because they had the experience and they'd been doing it for years, and it wasn't their first welding position, so I understood. Um, and by the time I had been laid off, I was making 14.70 an hour. So you know that I did do a very good job. And
Stop.
you knock it off. You're gonna knock this drink off of the counter. So you know that I had proven myself. I had done a good job. I had a few bumps in the road in the beginning, um, but you ask questions. You look for ways to improve your work. Um, and I got raises, and came in. I did a lot of overtime that wasn't mandatory. A lot of overtime. Um, and brought home over $1,000 a week on paychecks at times, and that was really nice. But I earned it. I earned it. It wasn't handed to me. I didn't scream for more, like a lot of the unions do. Um, and I didn't cry that my wage was unfair. So my point being with that, if you have workers who have been there, like myself, I was there for how long? October 6, 2008 was my start date, and when I was actually laid off um, was in 2010. Now, if you take someone like me who had been there that amount of time, I mean, there was a period between where we were laid off and then we came back, but it wasn't a very long period. But even someone who has been in a job, say they've been there for 4 or 5 years, and they've earned their dues, they've proven themselves, and they started out at 13.50 an hour, and now they're up to $15 an hour, let's say. They've been there a year or so, a couple years. Now they're up to $15 an hour. Um, Now let's say minimum wage raises to $15 an hour. Now the people that are just coming into the company that would have started at like 13.50, they don't start 13.50 anymore because minimum wage is $15 an hour. How is it fair that someone like me, um, who had barely touched a welder, I had hardly any experience, I was green, I was below me on the totem pole, just coming in. How would that be fair for someone like me to make $15 an hour to start minimum wage when this other guy's been here for a couple years and he earned his way to $15 an hour? How is it fair that I make the same amount of money as that guy? It's not, and that's what this would do. You raise minimum wage up like that, and companies are going to go bankrupt. I mean, they're going to have to pay people that have been there. I mean, hey, this guy comes in, and the veterans at the company, they're sitting there and they're talking to each other. Oh yeah, the hitter's a new guy. See that? Yeah. What did they start him at? 15. They look at each other, and they go, "Man, it took me 3 years to get to $15 an hour. That's where I'm at right now." So they're going to go in. They're all going to march into the boss, and they're going to say, "Hey, if you're paying this guy $15 an hour, and he has minimal experience. He doesn't have any kind of seniority. He hasn't put in his time here. I don't want to. He can't make the same as me. I need more money per hour." So then companies are going to be faced with the decision that in order to keep their employees happy, keep morale up, and consequently affecting the quality of work, they're going to have to give them all raises. So it's a domino effect. You can't expect $15 an hour uh, to flip a hamburger or ding fries are done. Um, you can't expect that, and and think it's going to be okay. It's unethical. It's immoral, and it's just plain asinine. Um, price of things are going to go sky high. Grocery stores that bring in high school students that just want to work the weekends or after school just to make some extra money toward graduation stuff, or prom dress, a car, their first car. They're going to have to start paying them $15 an hour. And with the way things are going, and I don't want to get into this subject, but with the health care bill, they're going to be forced to give them all, some kind of an insurance plan. I mean, some of the great big companies, yes, they can afford to do it. I know they can afford to do it, and that's the argument everybody makes. But some of these small companies, like the company I work for welding, they couldn't have done that. They couldn't have paid every single person in there $15 an hour and expected the employees who had been there for quite a number of years to be happy making the same amount as the new guys. And that's only right. Hey, you've been here, you put in the time, you did good work, you showed up, you've proven yourself, you've earned the right to make more than this guy. I mean, minimum wage is what? It's $7.75, I believe. It's very hard to make a living on $7.75. I understand that. Here's my solution. Instead of raising minimum wage, let's get rid of the sales tax on gas. Either get rid of income tax completely, which we know isn't going to happen. So let's just do this. Let's institute a flat tax. Everybody, no matter what you make at the end of the year, you pay the exact same percentage right across the board. I would say somewhere between 5 and 10%. 8 or 9% probably sounds a lot, pretty reasonable. Let's just say it's 9%. If you make $200,000 a year, you pay 9% of your earnings in income tax. If you make $10,000 a year, you pay 9% of your income for sales tax. No loopholes. Get rid of the loopholes. This is the kind of thing that would be more successful than raising minimum wage. Or don't force companies to provide health care. It's common sense. When you think about it, that just throwing more money at people is not going to solve the problem. It's going to actually, ironically, if they would raise minimum wage to $15 an hour, or even to $10 or $11 an hour, the people that it's going to hurt most are those people who are now pushing for the minimum wage to be raised because they need more money to live on. Which brings me to my closing point here. Minimum wage was never meant to be a career opportunity. Minimum wage jobs such as fast food, retail, stocking shelves, or being a cashier clerk at a grocery store or a little department store downtown. That kind of thing is transitional jobs, opportunities, building blocks for your resume and your work ethic and experience. If you want to become a manager, some people say, well, what if I want to become a manager and work my way up in management in somewhere like Mickey D's or Burger King? That's fine. I understand that there's decent money there, and I understand there's an opportunity there. But a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll take, home study courses, college courses, or there's like a local school. You can take some business courses there, some applied management courses, something like that, and then you take that experience, and then you can become a shift supervisor, and you prove yourself at that. You prove that, hey, I just want to have this diploma that says I can do this. I'm showing you I can do this. So then you get promoted, and then you get promoted like to store manager. Then you get promoted. You can become like a regional manager, a district manager, and district manager, I think, and then regional manager, and so on. And after a while, you're making the decent money. It doesn't come right away. Empowerment will always, 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 always be more powerful, and it will always be more effective and more successful than entitlement. Just handing people something is not going to solve the problem. It's going to make it worse. When people actually have to earn it and prove themselves to earn it, then it's a win-win situation. Quality goes up, prices come down. So I have 10 seconds left. I invite everybody to comment respectfully and maturely, and hope everybody has a great evening.